Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are jumping right into our explainer on the highly anticipated Linux Mint 22.3 update. You might know it by its official code name, Zena. We're going to completely unpack what makes this specific release tick, looking directly at the notes and the raw feedback from both the development team and the community itself.
To kick things off, I really want you to think about this question. What actually makes your daily computing smooth and comfortable? Is it those radical, jarring reinventions you get forced into every 6 months? Or is it meticulous, continuous refinement? Well, Linux Mint's philosophy lands firmly on the latter. As we'll see today, Zena isn't about reinventing the wheel at all. It's about polishing that wheel until it literally spins effortlessly.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll officially meet Mint 22.3 Zena. Then look at some powerful new troubleshooting tools, the Cinnamon desktop evolution, app and workflow upgrades, the long-term strategy, and finally some real-world community feedback. Let's get right to it.
Starting with Section 1, meet Mint 22.3 Zena.
So, the absolutely crucial thing to know right off the bat is that Linux Mint 22.3 is a long-term support release. That number right there, 2029, represents exactly how long this operating system is guaranteed to receive security updates. That is 5 solid years of guaranteed stability. Think about that for a second. If you install this today, you can comfortably rely on it for the rest of the decade without ever being forced into a major disruptive upgrade.
And you're probably wondering, what does it take to run this long-term powerhouse? Surprisingly little, actually. The minimum system requirements are incredibly accessible. We're talking just 2 GB of RAM and 20 GB of disk space. Now, sure, 4 gigs of RAM is recommended for the most comfortable usage, but this really highlights just how efficient Mint is. So if you're a potential switcher, maybe sitting on older hardware right now and wondering if you can upgrade, the answer is almost certainly yes.
Moving on to Section 2, powerful new troubleshooting tools.
You know, troubleshooting hardware usually follows a pretty logical 3-step workflow. You've got to find the cause by identifying the exact component, figure out the solution, and then, obviously, apply it. Well, to streamline this exact process, the Mint team actually took their old system reports tool, completely revamped it with 4 brand new pages, and rebranded the whole shebang as system information. They also went ahead and added a dedicated system administration tool just to handle boot parameters.
Take a look at the new GPU page. You can now effortlessly verify your default graphics card, the driver currently in use, and specifically your hardware acceleration support. In the past, actually verifying if things like Vulkan or VA API video playback were enabled meant typing out clunky terminal commands. Now, it's beautifully laid out right inside the graphical interface.
Continuing that mechanic metaphor, the new PCI page gives you a highly detailed look under the hood at the internal components of your computer. You can see precise component IDs, exact brands, and the active drivers. So if you run into a really deep hardware conflict, having these exact vendor and device IDs readily available is absolutely vital for going out and finding community support. It's a huge time saver.
Let's transition over to Section 3, the Cinnamon desktop evolution.
For a really long time, Mint applications relied heavily on Adwaita for their simple, monochrome symbolic icons. But Adwaita recently dropped support for applications outside of the GNOME ecosystem, and that was a problem because it led to missing icons and visual regressions on Mint. To fix this, Mint went ahead and created a brand new native standard called the XApp Symbolic Icons Project, or XESI for short. This ensures all your menus and buttons remain totally crisp and consistent, completely eliminating their reliance on a third-party project that just doesn't prioritize Mint's needs. And speaking of the interface, the Cinnamon application menu has been fundamentally redesigned. You now have the option of a layout featuring a full sidebar with your avatar, your places, and favorite apps, but you really get to see the radical customizability Mint offers when you want something different. If you're someone who prefers a minimal layout, you can completely hide that sidebar or shrink the categories to focus entirely on your applications. You can literally mold the menu to fit your exact workflow.
Now let's look at another major Cinnamon evolution, which is the unified keyboard settings. In previous versions, Cinnamon's keyboard handling really only worked properly under x.org, meaning Wayland users were kind of stuck with standard US English layouts. Well, not anymore. Cinnamon 6.6 now seamlessly integrates traditional XKB layouts and complex IBIS input methods, like the Japanese Mozg engine, directly side by side. And honestly, the best part, this entire system is fully compatible with the experimental Wayland session.
Next up is Section 4, App and Workflow Upgrades.
Another great addition is the new notification badges on the window list. Say you have an app minimized, like Discord, or maybe a terminal process running in the background, and you receive a message or an alert. You're now going to see clear numbered badges right on the taskbar, ensuring you never miss a notification even if you just stepped away from your desk for a coffee.
We've also got an absolute rapid-fire list of excellent app-level updates here. The Nemo File Manager now has a dedicated template manager, and finally, it allows you to actually pause and resume file transfers. I know a lot of people have been waiting for that. The Time Shift Backup utility also lets you pause snapshots right in the middle of them running, and Warpinator, which is Mint's local file sharing tool, just gained IPv6 support, along with a super handy new feature that lets you send quick text messages straight across your local network.
All right, Section 5, the long-term strategy. Linux Mint 22.3 is built directly on the Ubuntu Noble package base and utilizes the Linux kernel 6.14. Now, what's really fascinating about Mint's strategy here is that they are locking into this specific package base for all future releases all the way up until the year 2026. So what does this actually mean for us? It means the development team doesn't have to waste time reinventing the core operating system every single year. Instead, they can focus 100% of their energy on refining the desktop and making your user experience as smooth as possible. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, Real-World Community Feedback.
We'll start with this absolutely glowing piece of feedback from a user named Pete Teteru. Pete wrote, quote, "Real computing is back. Get away from big tech. You will love it." They noted that after 30 years of being stuck inside the Microsoft ecosystem, they installed Mint 22.3 on an 8-year-old laptop and absolutely loved the simplicity. I think this brilliantly illustrates the immense appeal of Mint for switchers who are just flat out tired of restrictive, bloated, big tech operating systems.
But keeping things completely impartial for this explainer, we absolutely have to look at the pain points too. User Mike F. reported, quote, "Everything froze up with a black screen. I'm extremely reluctant to try out the Wayland session again." And honestly, several other users echoed this exact bug in the comments. So while the standard X11 session remains incredibly rock solid, this is a stark reminder that Mint's Wayland implementation is still very much experimental, and it can absolutely lead to system freezes for some hardware configurations. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Linux Mint 22.3 Zena. Looking at the long-term stability we've seen today, the incredible diagnostic tools, and the highly customizable Cinnamon desktop, I'm going to leave you with this final question. Is it time to finally trade your current OS for a meticulously polished, user-first experience? Let that thought linger for a bit. I really hope this explainer helped you grasp exactly what this major release brings to the table. Until next time, keep learning.